Thank you all for joining this evening's INCOSE Washington Metropolitan Area monthly meeting. We have included our names for the board members for WMA so that you can reach out directly to us should you find the need to do so. If you're joining us for the very first time, please put that in the chat so that we can say hello. And for everyone, feel free to put your name and contact information, whatever you'd like to share, so that we can all engage with one another virtually. Just a few housekeeping items. If you're dialing in, please send an email to programs@incosewma.org to confirm your attendance. Please also mute your phone, your microphone, so that we won't have background noise when others are presenting. If you are presenting, if you wouldn't mind, please have your video on, your camera on, and for those that are not presenting, if you would turn yours off during the presentation. This is an excellent networking opportunity, so feel free, as I mentioned, to put your business information if you care to share in the chat, and we'd love to be connected with you. Just a few highlights in terms of the agenda for this evening. I didn't introduce myself. I am Dr. LaWanda Stedevant. I'm the president for this chapter for this year. I have a few goals that I would like to share with you all. The committee chairs of this board will report out on what they're working on and what's coming. We have an exciting presentation by our past president, Gary Thomas, and our vice president, Dr. Shawn Na, on their experience at the international workshop that took place earlier this month in Seville, Spain. And then I will share a few next steps for the chapter. Before we go too much further, I do want to share that we have an award recipient. I can't see who's online. Bill, if you're online, Bill Scheibel received recognition for his dedicated service to technical operations. I believe you were a part of this group for 4 or 5 years. Bill, are you online?
It doesn't look like he's online, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Well, again, we just wanted to recognize Bill for his efforts, and we will look forward to recognizing him later, hopefully in person. So I wanted to, as I mentioned, share with you a few goals for the year. First of which, we would like to increase our membership engagement. We'd like to hear from new members, from our seasoned members, the types of tutorials and presentations that you would like to see us provide for you. We would love to hear more about what you do in terms of systems engineering. So we'd like to and plan to engage further with our membership. The next item I have on the list here is that we will collaborate with other INCOSE chapters. We have started to do so with the Chesapeake chapter last year. We participated in their gala that they had in December. And so we look forward to engaging with other INCOSE chapters as we move forward this year. We are also planning to participate in outreach with regards to other system engineering events. I do know that one of our directors at large, Dr. Sue, is very involved with PMI, project management. And so we would like to and plan to do more outreach going forward. We started last year with engaging and really getting our student chapters at UVA, George Mason University, and George Washington University. And so we have gotten those three student chapters up and running. They're doing well. They have a number of students that have joined their chapters. And so we're looking forward to expanding. We are the Washington metropolitan area chapter. And so we're going to engage Morgan State University, who has a stellar systems engineering program, the University of Maryland, and Howard University. Next, I have here is that we will offer CEP certification prep courses. We are going to be working with another INCOSE chapter in Texas to provide some preparation courses for those that are interested in getting their CEP certifications. And so the last thing that I have here, I'm trying to see around my laptop, is to improve some of our internal processes with the board. And so the last on the list is to also work towards receiving the Platinum Circle Award. We received the Gold Circle Award, and so we believe that we are well positioned to reach that Platinum um, award level. So we're looking forward to doing that this year. And so here you will see our board. Again, I'm LaWanda Studevant. We have Dr. Shawn Na, who is the vice president, our past president, Gary Thomas, programs chair, Ruchira Puri, treasurer, Brian Massa. And so we have new to the board, Barbara Staples, director at large. Dr. Sue is returning. We also have we have director at large, um, Bill Scheibel, um, joining us as communications chair, Paul DeMarco. Our tutorial chair is Kyle Miller. We have membership chair, Lisa Winchester. It says here vacant, but we have someone in queue to be our ambassador chair. So we're looking forward to adding to our board by next month. We have extraordinary event coordinator Kathleen Flynn, newsletter editor Nalini Mopala. And then, as I mentioned, we do have 3 student chapters. And so I will just share their information so that you can see it. The deck is available so that if you have students that you know of in these areas that may be interested in joining these student chapters, you'll have the information before you to be able to share with other students that you may know. We are very excited that we have our membership continues to grow. And so you'll see here our new members that joined in December as well as January. So we're excited. Hopefully they're on the line, they're on the call. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And then next we have some new CEP certifications. Edwin Stewart, who received the ECEP. And then we have a couple of folks that have received the ACEP. I won't read all of their names out, but you see them there before you. And then moving right on, I will turn it over now to Paul to speak to what's happening in his area, communications. Paul, over to you.
Sure. So I started as the communications chair this past month, I guess. And during that, I've been trying to organize some of the information. So I've done some recent updates to our chapter website. So it's a great place to find upcoming news events, look at and see who new chapter members are and recent certifications. As INCOSE chapter members, everybody has access to Viva Engage and SharePoint as some of the communications tools that we use. I provided the links there. I know people struggle with getting into these tools, which is unfortunate. But if you go and reach out to help desk at incose.net, they can usually resolve some of the Microsoft issues for you. if you ever have any suggestions or want to volunteer, you can reach me at communications@INCOSE On the next slide are some of the other tools that we use to communicate upcoming events and news and information. So your main form of communication that by far has the largest reach to our members is through the email marketing that we do through using MailChimp. So usually 2 weeks prior to a chapter meeting, you'll get an initial notification of an upcoming event. And then the week of the meeting, you'll get a reminder. And then throughout the rest of the month, you may get another email or two pointing you to other events in the local area or adjacent organizations that we work with. We also have a X Twitter account, a YouTube studio, where as we record these sessions, we post them up to YouTube so that if you can't make it to the meeting, you can watch it always afterwards. We have a LinkedIn group and company and a Facebook group and company, I guess. So those are our main mechanisms to get in touch with us and see what's going on. It would be great to see more people engage via the Viva Engage tool, since that really is one of the INCOSE's centrally managed capabilities that all chapters and working groups have access to. Right now, only on average, maybe 30 or 40 people ever see that material, but hopefully we'll grow that over time. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Nalini, newsletter?
Nope. Right, so we have scheduled similar to last year. We have 4 editions planned for this year, 1 per quarter, and the goal is to publish towards the end of the quarter. So to that effect, we have a schedule where we have a timeline for receiving content and going through the process of putting it together, editing and circulating among board of directors to gain approval to publish. So please submit your contributions. There's no good or bad article, anything's welcome. We can work together to shape it up to suit the theme of the month or the edition. So we have a much more improved template thanks to the new president. So it'll be more attractive this time around, not as bland as the past ones. So looking forward to that.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And if you have any articles on systems engineering that you'd like to provide to Nalini, he would graciously receive. All right.
Thank you.
So next, thank you. So next we have the program chair. Is Ruchira on the line? If not, before you, you'll see what is planned in terms of presentations for the first half of this year. So we're excited about the presentations that are to come. We are also planning to start having some hybrid meetings coming back together to have presentations and discussions and interacting with one another in person. So look for that to happen somewhere around the second quarter, around April. All right. And so next we have our first event for the quarter. Kathleen, over to you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Kathleen Flynn. I am the events coordinator, and I'm excited to announce our first event for 2025. It's going to be a behind-the-scenes backstage tour of Wolf Trap. This tour was suggested by one of our INCOSE members who attended one of our events last year. And it sounds like it'll be a great tour. It'll be an hour where we'll learn about what happens backstage, the design of the center, where musicians go to warm up, and the systems that facilitate performances at Wolf Trap. And look for more information to come via email for signing up and registering. I'll also paste a link in the chat for the Google form to sign up. And more details to come via email. All right, and we're looking for any ideas if you're interested in helping to plan an event. If you have an organization or a company that provides behind the scenes tours, manufacturing operations, something similar, we'd love to learn about them and work with you to plan our next event. Some ideas for upcoming events that we have brewing are an event at the GMU, the George Mason University Potomac Science Center. So if you're interested in learning more about environmental systems in the area and would like to help plan that event, just let me know. Any ideas at all are welcome. So look forward to hearing from you.
All
Thanks.
right. Thank you, Kathleen. I'm excited. You always have such great events planned for us, and we certainly do appreciate that. So next up is our presentation, our keynote speakers for the evening, Gary Thomas, our past president, and Dr. Shawn Na, who attended the international workshop, the INCOSE International Workshop in Seville, Spain. So I will turn it over to you, Gary, who's going first?
I'm going to present. Well, let me ask Dr. Na. Do you want to present your slides, or do you just want to show my slides and then we'll do a voice track? What would you prefer, sir? Dr. Na? Okay, there, he might have some comms issues. So I'm going to go ahead and go first, and then we'll bring him in as he can. Can you all see my my slide?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. And Dr. Na, I'm not sure if you're working out the comms issue, but feel free to chime in at any moment to give your take on what's presented and to add some details from your perspective. But I did try to get some of the things from your slide deck into mine. Okay. The international INCOSE's International Workshop concluded what I think it was last week, because it's only the 12th. So it was my first IW event, and same thing with Dr. Na. We were lucky enough by the chapter for them to send us and to report back to the chapter. I'm very pleased to say that there were many WMA members there from their respective institutions like Virginia Tech or George Mason or GW, and we'll get that in more into that in just a second. Dr. Na, is your mic audio working?
Hey Gary, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry, I do have a comment issue, and sorry, I do. Yeah, if you don't mind presenting, and I'll add in the voice track if that's okay. But
That sounds fine.
okay, yeah. So as Gary introduced, yeah. So Gary and I were able to attend the IW 2025, and Ralph, who is the president of INCOSE, he did note that this is the first time they're hosting IW at Europe, as IW is usually hosted at Torrance, California.
Thanks, Dr. Na. I'm gonna give you my big takeaways, and I'll ask Dr. Na to just to bring in his thoughts. If you're not aware, INCOSE has a strategic vision that it has written out, and it's called Vision 2035. here at WMA, we can give you that booklet that talks about it, but I'm sure there are plenty of websites that will that you can get the PDF online, or we can email it to you. But 2035, that vision is underway now, and there are 4 main strategic goals that INCOSE wants to bring about. We'll talk more about those strategic goals in a second. As part of INCOSE's way to implement Vision 2035, they're going to do some restructuring, and that restructuring has already started. They're going to make the board of directors smaller and leaner, and they're going to bring in more of a chapter voice into the board of directors. INCOSE has joined the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, and that that was really a move to say, hey, we are the leading organization, or we want to be the leading organization for system engineering. And throughout the whole week, there was a big push for the attendees and the working groups to explore the system engineering software tools database. And we'll talk about that more in a second. Dr. Na, is there anything else you'd like to bring up from very high level takeaways from the IW? Over.
Yes, just to add on to what you said about the town hall that happened at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. or at Spain time. They did mention that back in December, they voted and they're trying to implement new vision to shape up the organization. And they did emphasize that since INCOSE is mostly volunteering based commitment, they mentioned that they now have hired permanent staff to assist with the events and other programs in more meticulous detail, so could be helped out and lessen the burden of the volunteering commitments that we all do. So they did mention that, and I think that's all I can add to that. Over.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Na. Some of the things that I overheard and I thought was very interesting is that our president, our INCOSE president, Ralph Hartman, he had mentioned that there is a dilution of system engineering within the system engineering discipline, and he saw that as a challenge. I'm trying to learn more about what he meant by that. I'm not too sure if that means that the system engineering discipline is finally growing to the point where parts of it will splinter off into its own discipline, or if system engineering is used as a catch-all as new technologies emerge. And if there's anybody on the call that may know about this phrase being used and with respect to system engineering, please feel free to add the information into the chat session, because I really would like to understand what that means and what its impacts are to our field. And I will also report back to Dr. Studevant if I find out more about that. Okay, some of the other things that I thought was very interesting. Today, there's 20, 25, 26,000 members in INCOSE, and the trajectory of INCOSE worldwide is trending up as far as gaining membership. It was said during the IW, one of the town halls or plenary sessions, they did say they think they can get to 60,000 members within, I think 5 to 7 years. And that is, that's tripling what we are today. but they see a lot of growth potential, and that's part of the challenge that the hired staff for INCOSE will have to develop the relationships with key academic and industry partners across the world to make that INCOSE membership growth occur. One of the other things that was said during the town halls was that the Fuse lead, the Future of System Engineering lead, that person will be placed in charge like a chairman for that Vision 2035 strategic vision. So that's something you would expect, right? You'd expect your strategic vision to have key leaders identified to make portions of that strategic vision real, and that's a good sign that they're putting names to functions. Also said during the town hall meetings were the importance for INCOSE to move in the direction of becoming a standards body, just like IEEE, just like the ISO and those other international engineering organizations. Lastly, at least on my side, is that 25 prioritized actions were listed for the board of directors at the INCOSE headquarters level, for them and for the executive staff to action. And so that's also a positive sign that their 2035 vision actually has meat, right? Because now they're assigning goals and objectives, and they're prioritizing the work to get done. And those are key things that need to happen in order for a strategic vision to become real. Dr. Na, anything else, sir?
Just to add on to that, they went through the working groups, and they did mention that there are a couple additional new working groups, and the board also mentioned that they are interested in assessing the working groups activity to see which ones are highly active versus if any calibration is needed. So they did also mention to that extent, but more details to come in the future. Over.
Roger that. Okay, so earlier I mentioned the strategic objectives. The INCOSE board at the international level, they've boiled down their 4 strategic objectives into these 4 categories, right? Advancing system engineering as the world's trusted authority. That's what INCOSE wants to be. They want to be known as the world's trusted authority for systems engineering, right? They want to expand the system engineering community by growing INCOSE. They want to foster the professional development of system engineers and our competencies as a community. And they want to achieve operational excellence. And so my question back to the WMA chapter, now that we've seen the strategic objectives for Vision 2035 boiled down into these areas, my question to Dr. Studevin and the rest of the board here at the chapter level is, how are we going to respond to these 4 objectives? Now, these are things that I would think we would talk about in our board meetings, and then message out to our chapter members. But that's the question I want to bring back is, okay, now that these have been boiled down, what do we do at the chapter level? All right, Dr. Na, anything else to add, sir?
No, not for this slide. Thank you. Over.
Okay. All right. Right. So, as Dr. Na mentioned, we got to hear directly from Ralph Hartman. He's the president of INCOSE. We got to meet and break bread with Mr. Michael Watson. He's out of the Huntsville area, and he's the president-elect for INCOSE. So I believe that when Dr. Na is the president of this chapter, Michael Watson will be the president of INCOSE. So those relationships have now been made, and those were important things for us to accomplish at IW. We also met Mr. David Long, who's associated with our chapter, and I think through Virginia Tech as well. He lives down in the Virginia Tech area. He's the strategic integration director. Just reelected for her second term is Miss Renee Steinwan. She's the director for the Americas sector. Now, if you're not familiar with what the term sector is, there's basically, I think, 3 main sectors across the world for INCOSE right now. Right, the Americas sector, South America, Central America, North America, all that is one sector. Right, there's the European sector, and then there's the Asia Pacific sector. And that's what, and so Renee is the Americas sector. We have we've met her. We have members on our team that also work for her, like Mr. Bill Scheibel. I see that you're on, sir. We got to spend time with her as well. We also met Steve Records. He's the executive director. He's our, I think he was INCOSE's first paid staff, and he is the one that is brokering a lot of deals with universities and industry companies in various industries to make inroads for INCOSE. Dr. Na, anything you'd like to add about some of these folks that we met? I put in the other folks that you met in the smaller writing.
Oh yeah, thank you. And yes, definitely met lots of leadership from INCOSE, and also met with the Chesapeake chapter member, as well as some of the chapter member leaders from the Huntsville, and but it was good to finally meet them in person and share some of the notes about our chapter and any of the observations and comments that Gary and I were able to share with them for any of the future talking points. So we did share with those with our chapter president, Luanda, so that we can continue to make progress throughout, hopefully this year. Over.
Yeah, I think that by meeting these different folks, I think we've set up a good transition for Dr. Na even during his term, because a lot of these folks will be there even during his term as the chapter president. Okay, I'm going to move forward. If there are any questions, please put it in the chat, and we will get to them. This is a very busy slide, but I'm just mapping our chapter that we sent. We were there at IW, Dr. Na and I, and if you move from the center outwards, you'll see that, okay, we saw folks from George Mason University there, from GW, from Virginia Tech. We saw our America sector folks. We saw folks from our what I term as our headquarters, but it's our international board. We met folks from different working groups. And then if you look at the names on the outer ring, some of them will seem very familiar because they're part of our chapter, right? We like Dr. John Shortle. He's the chair for the department over at George Mason University. He was there. Dr. Ali Raz was there. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he briefed our chapter last year on counter UAS systems that George Mason University is working on. Dr. Ali Raz is the co-chair for the AI Systems Working Group, which was prominent at this IW event. As Dr. Na mentioned, we met folks from the Chesapeake chapter. Our GW sent Dr. Eric Dano there. He's our student faculty advisor for the student chapter at GW. Right, Dr. Talon Topku, he was there from Virginia Tech. He's our student faculty advisor there. We also heard, or Dr. Na met Dr. Paul Walk from Virginia Tech National Security Institute. Now, the Virginia Tech National Security Institute also briefed us last year. So we're starting to see that we have connections, that folks are going into the IW, they're part of working groups, they're leading working groups, and WMA, our folks are active. They're active, they're out there, and they're leading groups, and they're making progress. Now, even somebody I met at IW that I've never met before, Mr. Kevin Weinstein, I learned, I met him at IW as the deputy for the Americas sector, deputy director for the Americas sector underneath Renee Steinwein. It turns out Kevin was the past president for this chapter twice. So I'm showing this map for a reason, is that, this chapter is plugged in, and even Bill Schleibel had last year had worked like at all three levels. It's pretty amazing stuff. Dr. Na, anything you'd like to add? I know this is a very busy chart.
No, thanks for that. And yeah, I'd just like to add that thanks to Gary and all the introductions, we were able to meet the, just to repeat again, Virginia Tech, George Mason, and George Washington faculty members. So we listened to their talking points and trying to see how we can help them with some of the meetings and activity throughout this year, so that maybe there's more student engagement through the INCOSE student chapters, as well as some of the past INCOSE leaders who now took on different leadership role, as Gary mentioned, Kevin and David. So we intend to plug in with them as needed, so that if there's anything at the chapter level that we could get any assistance or advisory or anything like that, we could look into over.
Roger that. I noticed Bill Schleibel's on. Bill, you're really, you're plugged in across all levels of INCOSE. Anything else you'd like to add, sir? And I'm just kind of like putting you on the spot.
That's no problem. No, we're good. No, I would mention that David Long has been around a long time. His father, in fact, was the head of, was a president of COSI years ago. So there's a lot of history there. Most of the people on this list have been involved one form or another with WMA. You've got 1, 2, maybe 3 former presidents on there. So it's quite, WMA remains the largest independent chapter. We're not a country chapter. We're a U.S. chapter, and we're probably the largest chapter in the country. So lots of good things going on. We're very influential. And I also want to mention the fact that within our area here, the what we call it, the Washington metropolitan area, there's actually 5 chapters. And I'm the Northeast coordinator for Renee in the Americas sectors. But around here, we've got Chesapeake, we've got Southern Maryland, we've got Hampton Roads, we've got Central Virginia, we've got WMA. As you head farther north, we've got Philadelphia, we got Three Rivers, on up into New England, and a couple of others I may or may not be a part of yet. So there's a lot of activity going on. So that's all. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that, sir. Okay, we're gonna drive on. Now, when I joined INCOSE and I started going to the WMA chapter meetings, I came in at the chapter level, and I thought that was INCOSE, right? I thought that was INCOSE, all of it. I didn't quite understand the chapter thing. I didn't really understand that. Getting involved at the chapter level, I learned about the student divisions, right? That's what INCOSE calls our student chapters. That's the formal name, is student divisions, right? And then when I went to IS, or actually being involved at the chapter level, I learned about these sectors, right? We mentioned the Americas sector, the European and the Pacific Asia sector. And then this other level at, I would just say, international board level. At this event, at this IW event, that's really where I got exposed to the working groups. I didn't understand the working groups. I didn't understand how, what were they? And but there are 52 different working groups. Each of these working groups, they meet independently, sometimes once a month, sometimes if you're in a leadership role, maybe it's once a month, and then every other week for planning, things like that. And as Dr. Na mentioned in some of our earlier slides, it's growing, right? There's new working groups popping up all the time. I think a very prominent working group right now that is getting a lot of attention and is the AI systems working group that Dr. Ali Raz and Dr. Barclay Brown run. But this was the first time I've really been exposed to all of the chapters. I mean, all of the working groups in concept. Now, at the IW event, there were not 52 different working groups there. Maybe there were a dozen or maybe 2 dozen, but not all 52 were there. Dr. Na, is there anything you'd like to add, sir?
Thanks. Just like to add that, yeah, as for the working group perspective, right now anyone can go into your INCOSE site and can click on any of the working groups that you're interested in. But the bulk of the IW was focused on any of the working groups that you're interested or involved that you like to contribute to, so that you could attend the meetings while you're at the conference, or if there's a dial in available to dial in, then you can try to absorb what the working group is working on, their focuses, and their technical product that they're working towards with the technical product team leadership, so that any of the either if it's INCOSE only or through academia or other institutes that they're working together with, so that the technical product can be releasable. Over.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, can I jump in on that conversation for a second?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the IW was originally intended for the working groups, and yes, we got 52 of them. I was part of the administration of the tech ops, technical operations, which runs the working groups. And yes, they're all kind of independent. I belong to like 5 of them. I probably participate in just 2 or 3. I'm the chair for SEQM, the Quality Management Working Group. But the working groups were intended to be, and they still are, the product development folks, as Dr. Na mentioned. They're the ones that developed, if you will, the products that come out through the Insight magazine or through conferences, specifically focused. So I encourage everybody to join in a working group. If there's no criteria for joining it, just an interest. Some of the working groups are really active, like the requirements working group or the security working group. Those people are huge and do all kinds of crazy things. My quality management working group has got 700 members, if you can believe that. I can't find them, but they're out there someplace. So we're all working toward generating stuff. And what's really good about right now is that the working groups are realizing that they're dependent upon each other. If you take, for example, the quality management working group, it interacts or could interact with all the other working groups, because quality, like security, becomes part of what each working group is doing. So that's kind of that's where everybody at INCOSE has a chance to get in and contribute. So please join a working group if you find one that's really interesting to you. Over.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that, sir. Okay, so throughout the IW week, this is a generic general agenda that that Dr. Na and I participated in. We went to a town hall, we went to an Americas sector meeting, Dr. Na went to an MBSC workshop, a digital twins workshop. He saw the system engineering software lab vendors presentations, and he also went to the embedded systems working group and the decision analysis working group. For me, I went to the AI systems working group meetings, the natural systems working group meetings, and the system safety working group. I tried to limit myself to 3, maybe 4 different working groups, because throughout the week, those working groups had several meetings. So maybe one meeting was goals for the year and more of a planning meeting, and then another day across the IW time span, they may had another meeting where they had briefs given to them, or a member was giving a brief to the working group. So they met throughout the week, and I didn't learn until the very end when Ralph Hartman basically said they made the working groups happen at the same time, because they wanted you to force yourself to make a decision. Which working group do you really want to participate in? And so you couldn't, just hop around from working group. Like, you actually had to make a choice of, like, well, this working group is meeting at the same time as this other working group. I have an interest in both, but if I'm going to sit down and I got to choose, I'm going to choose this one. And so they did that on purpose. Anything else, Dr. Na, before we jump into the working groups slides a little bit?
Yeah, so I didn't have much trouble, as you mentioned. You can hop in and out of the session easily when you're in person, but for those who were joining virtually, you had to manage through the INCOSE app that they were able to make it available to the virtual attendees. So that was a little hard to do, as if you need to jump one or the other. But in general, yes, there are so many working group meetings that you cannot all attend, but you pretty much have to pick and choose, and go through your calendar to pre-coordinate and all that to which one to attend. But the MBSC workshop was pretty much all day with different meetings and different events that went over various topics over.
All right, driving on. For me, I looked at all. There were several working groups that I really liked. Some of them were not there at the IW, like the defense systems working group wasn't there. The space systems working group wasn't there. But one that was there that really interested me was the natural systems working group. Dennis Tukowski, he's the cab rep from SAIC, I believe, from Dr. Na's notes. Allison Lai and Randy Anway, they're the POCs for this natural systems working group. This working group has its foundations in working closely with NASA. The big push for them right now is to go through their primer. It's called Natural Systems Primer. They said you can find it on Google, and getting that into the SC BOC. And I'm like, I've never heard of that term before. What is SC BOC? That's the System Engineering Body of Knowledge. It's a wiki, and they want to move their information onto this System Engineering Body of Knowledge wiki. During the week, they also had a presentation called Using AI to Foster Creative Solutions in System Engineering Challenges. So that was fantastic to learn about how NASA and other players in this working group are using nature to inspire their designs. And I also learned about Bidara, I guess that's how you pronounce it. It's their version of ChatGPT, a model that they created, a large language model that they created, that has a lot of NASA information about Earth systems, and and I guess other natural systems um, information, and so they can ask it questions and help speed up the design process by looking at nature. I put in some keywords here. These were I don't know about these keywords yet, but I thought it's something important to include in the brief if there's interest by this chapter's members. Da Vinci Vision, World Systems Model, the PABC app, Project Talent by NASA. These are all things that you can look up. I've put in the URL in small print at the bottom of the slides, and these slides, or this whole entire brief, is actually in this chat. It's at the very top, so you can get the link and things like that and check it out. All right, I'll drive on. Is there anybody in on the call that is part of this natural systems working group? If so, write something in the chat. Say, yeah, I'm in that group. Okay, driving on. Right, I had mentioned the AI systems working group that Dr. Ali Raz and Dr. Barclay Brown chair. They are from everything I can gather, they are very well respected in their field of AI and system engineering. I'll be honest, a lot of the terminologies were above me, above what I could absorb there, but that's okay. I know that with any of these working groups, the key is going to be to go slow and steady, and to stay active, and to go to their meetings, and over time, I'm gonna get access to key documents that system engineers should read regarding AI. I will be being able to pull back the layers of the onion by being around these folks. And so I encourage anybody on the call, if you're part of this working group, raise your hand so that we know in general who we can go to for some initial questions. Dr. Na, anything you want to say about this particular working group? I'm not sure if you had a chance to go to it.
I was able to attend one of the meeting that Dr. Ali hosted, so it pretty much went over some of the agendas that the working group is currently working on and focusing on, and there are so many buzzwords slash concepts that go into the AI systems engineering. So this will probably grow vastly in size and the number of focuses that the working group wants to prioritize. So like you said, more to come. And if interested, all of the working group information is available on INCOSE website, and all the chairs and the deputies are all listed if interested to connect and engage. So so that's all already available on the INCOSE web working group website. Over.
Thank you, Dr. Na. All right, moving on. The last group that I really tried to participate in across the week was the System Safety Working Group. Right as people were flying out to Seville, Spain, we had this terrible accident here in the DC area. And so that was fresh on everybody's minds. And as you can imagine, this Safety Systems Working Group was really well attended. And if you've ever seen the movies where the FAA engineers all sit in the kind of a semicircle and then dissect the timeline for an accident, that's kind of how this working group felt. I felt like I was sitting amongst engineers that this is their job, this is their interest, this is their passion, and they really felt like I really felt like I was peering into a window of a new world that interests me. Some of the key words that were discussed is something called STAMP, and I believe that's a process. I think it's a design methodology They also talked about standards, new standards that were that are in the safety systems engineering world, and standards that they rely on a day-to-day basis. One of the things that I thought was really nice about this group is not everybody there was an engineer. They were from all types of roles, and one person talked about um, the importance of doing scenario-based role playing, and then she cited how doctors do sort of role playing to prepare for surgery, and they enacted the timeline, and I kind of equated that to, oh, maybe this is like a war game or something like that, and then they're discovering risks along the process, which I thought was very interesting. The other thing too that I noticed, there was a question asked during one of the meetings was, is safety and safety engineering topics, are they taught at the undergraduate level? And the room was packed. There must have been at least 40 or 50 different engineers there from across the world, and everybody did not say a thing. So I took that as, oh, maybe safety is not really discussed at the undergraduate level for system engineering. There's several schools were in that room, including George Mason.
Gary, can I jump in on that for a second?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Safety is an interesting topic within INCOSE because there are several schools of thought of what is safety, how you define it, and how you apply it. So we've had a couple of great discussions. So it's interesting to get into because you've got some folks from MIT. Nancy Livingston has got one idea. We've got some of our own people have got another idea. So it's an interesting point, but it's a microcosm of what INCOSE can be. We bring together different thoughts, different ideas about what a particular technology or technical thought could be, and we argue it out. So Duncan, what's Duncan's last name? Duncan gets in the middle of that one too. So very good group, but it gets very technical, and then they get into the philosophies, and then that swings it one way or the other. So it's a great example of what a working group can be if you throw out some of the infighting. Over.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Dr. Na, do you want to talk about the American sector meeting that we went to?
Sure. So Renee hosted the America Sector monthly meeting, and Gary and I were able to meet other chapter leaders who attended in person, including Huntsville chapter and Chesapeake member that I mentioned earlier, as well as some of the Colorado members. And there were also lots of folks who dialed in online. So Renee pretty much went over the agenda of, in this time of the early months of the beginning of the year, the chapter has a couple activities of transitioning the, old board members with the new board members, as well as reviewing the bylaw and the chapter strategic plan and other documents that chapter leaders should review at the beginning of the year and update anything that needs to make sure that the documents align to the INCOSE international organization level strategic goals and objectives. So that was one key thing. They did note that Latin America is added to the America sector. So Renee mentioned there are about 300 members from Latin America. And as Gary mentioned from the INCOSE town hall earlier that day, Ralph mentioned that the organization should be more internationally set in place rather than still very US focused. So US and Europe focused. So they're trying to increase that footprint with other regions. So I think that was the key things that I remember. Gary, anything else you want to add here?
I think some admin things that will affect this chapter. Their criteria for the Circle Awards, that's going to change as a result of the strategic vision. They're going to try to streamline it and cut it down to something more appropriate. But those Circle Award criteria will change. They're on the back end. They're working to change the database that the I guess the American sector staff is working on for chapter members. They're changing that. All in all, the American sector meeting that we attended was good. It was just basically all of the chapters in America that were present. Following this America sector meeting, the next day, Ralph Hartman Renee Steinwein called a meeting for all sector leaders. So in one room, they had all of the sectors directors there, and the incoming president-elect Mike Watson said that was the first time that they had ever had all of the sector directors in the same room like that. So in that meeting, Dr. Na and I were in that meeting, and across the table from us was the UK chapter president. So having people from across the world in the same room, I think was a major accomplishment.
Gary, you might explain to everybody the difference between a UK chapter and an American chapter. Over.
Right, Roger that, sir. So across the world, the chapters are really like the countries, from what I can gather. Like the UK chapter president is the president for all of the United Kingdom. The Spain president, the Spain chapter, that president is for all of Spain. And so India chapter, all of India, that sort of thing, right? In America, though, we have many chapters, right? Before it was called the letter N, COSE versus INCOSE. So there's all these American chapters, and I think that's the difference. But Bill, let me know if I missed the mark from your perspective. Okay, all right. We'll drive on because I think we might be running out of time. So where is this all going, right? Just to sum it up, the next two slides are basically summarizing it. Where is this all going? The president of INCOSE said, to reiterate, he wants INCOSE to be the authority for systems engineering across the world, and that's what this organization is trying to do. It wants to be adaptable to the new technologies that are out there, the different research areas. He wants to develop an effective core structure, and I think that specifically talks to the structure at the international level, how vertically aligned it is, how widespread it is, who's voting, who's not voting when it comes to board decisions. And then the last thing he said is he wants to keep volunteerism as a core value. While they've hired an executive director and there is a staff that's growing to target specific things, it does appear that the INCOSE management at the very top, they're trying to make sure that this remains an pretty much all volunteer organization. Bill, Mr. Seibel, sir, you work across all three levels. Any additional things you might want to say?
No, I think you've covered it fairly well. Over.
Okay. Any thoughts from you, Dr. Na?
No, I think I pretty much mentioned at the beginning, the volunteering commitment is, core to our to the membership and at all levels. So
Okay, so continuing wrapping this up, for me, this was a very educational trip, right? Prior to this, I really just knew about the handbook. I just got the handbook, and then at IW, I learned about the different working groups and how many there are. I also learned a little bit about this System Engineering Book of Knowledge wiki, online wiki, and then spread across this IW was showing the software, the system engineering tools database, and all the different software systems that are in there. And I also learned just a little bit about this professional development portal. So for me, if I want to become a better engineer, the first thing I did is, well, who's doing engineering? And then I found out about INCOSE. So I joined INCOSE. So now that put me around other system engineers. So I'm like, okay, I can get better. I can be better by being around these folks that are all system engineers. Now I'm learning about all these handbooks and working groups and the different software tool sets that we could use, and this online living system engineering body of knowledge wiki. And then, to top it off, there's this professional development portal. So I know that over time, this is, not only working with you folks at our social events and on our monthly meetings and whatnot, but there are these targeted things that are going to make me and you better as system engineers, practicing system engineers. Anything from you, Dr. Na?
yes, just to add that the SC Lab was mentioned throughout the conference, and they did provide a couple opportunities to the training option for the SC Lab, and as Gary mentioned earlier, one of the session was dedicated for um, the module-based system engineering vendors to showcase. So I believe Steve Dam, who is our chapter member, and so he was able to demo the tool that he currently operates from his end. So for the customers he currently supports, so he was able to do that with other um, tools such as Cameo from the Sol system. So that they also went over the typical vendor demo showcase on how the tool is supposed to help with that MBSC discipline. And there were also various vendors from different countries that also went over that. So, but they did also mention, they all mentioned that the SC Lab has their tools. So if interested, you can definitely log into INCOSE and check out the SC Lab and the tools that you could try out for your, as Gary mentioned, for your system engineering profession. Oh, and one more to add that thanks to the conference, I was also able to meet Chris Hoffman. As Gary mentioned, he is one of the lead editor for the SC BOK. So, so I was able to make that connection, and I was asking him if he could join our chapter meeting in the future, if there's anything that he could express to our chapter members or any of the interest on that goes to the CBOK that Gary just went over.
Gary, could I add one
Yes, sir. Yes,
comment
yes,
to
sir.
all this? Everybody should go out to your INCOSE Access and look at the store, the INCOSE store. Many of the products that are done by the working groups are published out there. For example, everything on requirements analysis is out there. There's 2 or 3 books, pamphlets out there along with the handbook, but there's a lot of great information out there that's all available to you as a member of INCOSE. So go check out the store on the incose.org website. Over.
Okay, last slide. It is really just questions and discussions. I don't know how much time we have, Dr. Studevant, but Dr. Na and I will be happy to answer any questions.
thank you so much for all of the details and the information that you all brought back. Um, there's a wealth of information at these events, and that was one of the things that I wanted to um, speak about on the next slide. Are there any questions before we move forward?
I see one comment in the chat from Michael Swieger. Hopefully I said that name correctly. Yeah, I mentioned 52 working groups, but you count only 50. So I will find out what the number is. I remember I thought 52 stuck out, but I do know that at the IW event they did say they were going to do sort of an audit to figure out which chapters are really active or not.
Right.
So there may be some consolidations and things like that occurring. Hopefully that answers your questions, Mike. I guess Dr. Na, any closing comments from you, sir?
I just had one that it's slipping, but oh, I just remember. Sorry. For those who attended virtually, and I do need to ask, talk to our board members that for the for those who attended virtually, if any of the recordings um, and the slides that were presented at the IW can be available to the rest of the INCOSE members, as I'm not sure what is the record retention policy or anything like that for anything that gets posted and published. And I also do know that authors do also request not to get recorded or get published. So we may need to find out what is the policy on that detail. Over.
I guess the last thing I'd say is I was able to pick up that the next year's IW event is going to be back in Los Angeles, that area, and the next IS is this summer, and it's going to be in I think Ottawa, Canada, and then next year's IS is going to be in Japan. I think it was Tokyo. So this is a truly global organization, and I encourage everybody, all of us as members, to get active and to be part of it. Back over to you, Dr. Studevant.
Well, you led right into the next slide, and that is the next event. Next INCOSE Symposium will take place July 26th through the 31st in Ottawa, Canada. So if you can, put it on your calendar. It is well worth it. I found that when I went to the IW last year in California, that the people were very excited. They were very welcoming. They shared information freely. And I don't think I've had that kind of feeling in other work-related organizations. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that. It was very refreshing, and I enjoyed every bit of it. So at any rate, moving ahead so that we will stay on track with and not hold you any longer than necessary. In terms of what WMA is planning going forward, as has been hinted at by Nalini, we do have a fresh look to our newsletter that will be coming out in the next issue for first quarter. We do have someone waiting in the wings to be our ambassador chair. And so we will get that going because we do have a lot of outreach that we'd like to do, a lot of connecting with our CABs and other INCOSE chapters that we'd like to do. And so we are also wanting to put together our own working group to get prepared so that we can participate in the 2025 Andrew P. Sage Systems Engineering Research Competition that will be coming up in the spring. So we do need to put together a working group so that we can be prepared for that event. We are also looking for a few SEP certified folks to help us with presenting a few courses in the SEP preparation courses that we are planning with the Texas chapter. So if you have a SEP certification and have a desire to present and help with regards to planning and helping others to earn a SEP certification, please let us know. And then we also, as has been mentioned before, we plan to establish student chapters at Howard University, Morgan State University, and University of Maryland. And so we will be looking for assistance with our ambassador chair, the rest of the organization, the rest of our membership to assist us in our outreach. And then all of our committees could use some assistance. It is much easier when you have a team, when you have a group of folks to assist you in carrying out the mission, rather than just one person waving and carrying that flag. So we encourage you all, if there's any topic, any committee that you would like to join, we would welcome your participation so that we can help make a difference, help new system engineers get established in their careers. Mid-level can help seasoned system engineers. We can all work together to help one another. Our next monthly meeting will be March 12th. And if there is a topic that you'd like to hear, or if you would like to present, please let us know that as well. So thank you so much.
Dr. Studevant. Yeah, I wanted to make a quick announcement.
Yes.
So I'll be sending out an email to the group after this with posting the video, which will also include an announcement about the upcoming event that's being held in Reston by OMG for the SysML 2 Summit. Sandy, I see you online. Do you want to speak to that for a couple minutes?
Excellent.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Yeah, the SysML v2 is the next generation system modeling language that follows from SysML v1, which has been out there for many years. And it's just at the Reston meeting, which is in March, we'll be submitting the SysML v2 specification for final adoption. It's been under development for several years. So it's kind of a major milestone. And we're having an event we're referring to as the SysML v2 Summit. And it's on March 20th, Thursday. It's an all-day event to basically introduce people to SysML v2. You know, there's a fairly substantial community that's been active in it for quite some time. But for those of you who may be interested in MBSE with SysML v2, I would encourage you to come. It's a $99 fee for the day. That includes your lunch, and there's a social at the end of the day. But it should be interesting. It introduces you to SysML v2, some of its applications, and how an organization can transition into using v2 and things of that sort. So, and there'll also be tool vendor demos and the like. Back to you.
Well, thank you.
Dr.
Sounds exciting.
Studevant?
And $99 sounds like a deal compared to some other fees I've heard for other events. And it includes lunch. I'm sorry, I heard someone else.
Lunch and social.
Very nice.
Sandy, I have a question. This is Gary Thomas. Sandy, could you put a link to that event maybe in the chat?
I can,
Or just some
I'll-
keywords or something?
Yeah, I just put it in.
Okay, great.
It's on our website, and when I send out the next group email, you'll see a link to it and a picture for it.
Thank you, Paul.
It was great. Sandy's on. That's cool.
There's also it says INCOSE America Northeast wanted to say a quick announcement. Was that the announcement?
No, the person you just mentioned,
Yeah,
I think, is Dr. Sue.
that was me. Yeah.
No, that was, I think that was about the MIT CSC conference or something. Complex Systems Conference in the Northeast. Over.
Okay. All right, back over to you, Dr. Susan.
All right. Well, I have gone through all that I plan to present for this evening. We thank you all so much for joining, and we hope that you will join one of the committees, get more involved with the chapter. The more you put in, the more you'll get out. And so we look forward to seeing you in March. See you soon. Have a good night.
Thank you.